So it was a Friday morning. I was on a plane flying back from North Carolina working with my remote team, and I received this email. Now, it might sound innocuous. All it reads is Monday Swarm on Rotor.io, but inside was an invitation for me to explain to my CEO and his executive team why in the world had I launched this experiment with an entirely different brand than our company, Rally Software. And what's more, why had I just emailed thousands of our existing customers to invite them to check it out? See, we had just potentially damaged the relationship that Rally has with its existing customers. We had created fear and confusion because they had no context to understand what is Rudder, why is Rally running experiments. We had potentially just damaged this brand that we had spent the last decade building. Over the last year, my team has been struggling to answer this question: how do you launch a new product without hurting your existing brand? I'll tell you the full story behind that Rudder.io experiment, and then one other story to share with you the answers we've been working through. So let me start by describing to you the brand that I'm trying to protect. This is Rally's landing page, and if you're like this guy, Jim, a business leader, that actually might resonate with you. If you care about business strategy and you need help doing that, then Rally is targeting you. But my team inside Rally is very different. We care about this person. Let me introduce you to Amy. See, Amy is a software developer. And at Rally, we understand that Amy and her teams are just as critical to the success of Jim's company as Jim is himself. And my team had a hunch on how we could solve a serious problem for Amy. So we know that teams want to continuously improve. They have to. We actually have coaches within Rally that provide coaching services to actually do that. But we thought that we could build a product to automate that. Wouldn't it be awesome if your team could use a tool that sees how you work and could actually encourage you to change your process to be more efficient over time? Well, we thought it was cool too. Now, as a good enterprise-only startup, we didn't want to build a product first, so we wanted to run an experiment to see if this was truly the right problem and solution to build. So we ran a concierge experiment. So over the course of 6 weeks, we worked with a handful of teams, and we would give them advice, and that advice was based on us observing how they did their stand-ups. We would join via a Google Chat or something, and we would also log into whatever tool they used and just see how they tracked work. But to do this, we didn't want to launch that experiment under the Rally brand. We launched under a brand that we just invented called Rudder.io. See, we were worried that if we launched under the Rally brand, people would be influenced too much by it. We'd actually be cannibalizing services that we already provide, and that would make it so that we couldn't actually validate what we were trying to experiment with. It also gave us the opportunity to use different language that might not make sense on a Rally corporate-sponsored webpage. Now, our experiment worked in the sense that we helped teams become better. So over the course of 6 weeks, several teams actually thanked us for helping them improve. But we also invalidated what we were trying to test. We learned that advice has to be a conversation. So observing problem X, it was never just saying, hey, go read blog post Y or Z to understand what you should be doing better. It was always this human interaction, having a conversation to understand how teams need to be working together better. But it was in the context of running this experiment that I was called to the principal's office, so to say. So that meeting was actually rather difficult. For example, a conversation with our head of sales was, hey, what if one of those customers had called a sales rep, and that sales rep would have no idea what Rudder.io was, and his boss wouldn't know either. What would have that done to that customer relationship? And my answer was, yeah, that's the problem. We should probably fix that. So the solution for us was realizing that there's this broken bridge. We didn't have a way to connect Rudder to Rally, or any early experiments where we felt like we needed to use different brands. We had no way to associate them back to our corporate brand. We worked with internal teams in marketing and brand to create Rally Innovation Labs. And sure, this is just a marketing landing page, right? But it's the intent behind it that matters. The intent is to be transparent with our existing customers so they know why we're running experience, and also to explain to new people that we're trying to reach who we actually are and what that matters. Now you might be wondering, why didn't we just not email our existing customers? Wouldn't that have solved the problem? Keep Rudder separate, keep Rally separate, no harm, no foul. What was interesting is as soon as we started talking to teams that didn't know that we were Rally, we would have that conversation where they ask us, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to help my team? And the answer was, well, we want to help you to actually help ourselves. We're getting just as much out of it as you are because we're learning what problems you have. And that only makes sense if when we explain to them that we work for a larger company. So even if we hadn't exposed Rudder to our existing customers, we needed some way to tie Rudder back to our corporation. Great, okay, but you just said that you you invalidated Rudder.io. Wasn't your team disbanded? Well, no. See, Amy still had problems, and we were still committed to discovering them. Around the same time, a team of interns had launched a product called Waffle. And now you're wondering, how in the world did a team of interns convince a public company to sponsor a food truck? And I'll say that would actually be solving a very serious problem for Amy, who doesn't want waffles, but it'd be solving the wrong problem. So before I tell you what Waffle.io actually is, let me describe to you its brand. See, Waffle has a very different texture, a different flavor than Rally. It's fun, it's playful, it's simple, it's intuitive. And Amy identifies with it. So even if you look at the MVP that our interns launched, it doesn't have that enterprise software feel. Even on Waffle.io's homepage, you'll see a quote by comedian Mitch Hedberg. And I promise you that Rally Corporate would never, ever put this on one of their corporate marketing pages. But that was actually something awesome that Amy loved. Now, it wasn't because Waffle had a tastier brand than Rally that my team adopted it. It was because it was actually solving a real problem for Amy. So we learned about Amy is that she works on open source software on the side. So she goes home and she wants to contribute back to the tools that she's using every day. And there are a lot of developers just like Amy. And Waffle was a product that helped add transparency to open source software. See, if you open source your code, don't you also want to open source your process? So Waffle helped you have an open source project management solution to enable collaboration on open source projects. But something interesting happened, and this is why my team adopted Waffle, and it's that Amy didn't just want to use Waffle on her side projects, on her open source projects. She wanted to use it at work. But now we have this conundrum. We have Amy that identifies with Waffle and is solving her problems, but inside the same company, different customer, Jim identifies with Rally. So how do we make sense of one company who wants two things, and we can't make sense of how to connect those things together? So for Rally, the answer was understanding that it's our corporate mission statement that actually bridges that gap. So at Rally, we believe that empowered teams are essential for solving today's largest problem. So whether it's climate change or world hunger, we know that large corporations are necessary to solve those problems, but it's the empowered teams within them that can actually create that change. So Waffle makes sense within that mission statement, but so does Rally. So there's this place where it actually makes sense for us to have two separate brands, but one company that can support that. Okay, great. You just told me to create a mission statement, and that's going to solve all my internal problems, right? Well, no. There's much more to it, right? So when my team pivoted to Waffle, we were embedded within a product line. And as soon as we pivoted to Waffle, we no longer aligned with what that product line was trying to accomplish, but we still aligned with what the company was trying to accomplish. So we actually moved outside that product line and reported directly to our founder. So we had to make some internal structural changes to make that happen. We also started creating champions. So we were a team of 4 and grew to 6 people. To actually make real impact, we needed help from the rest of the company. So we started creating champions. And by champion, I don't just mean someone who likes what you're doing or someone who thinks it's cool, but someone who's actually willing to fight for you. So for example, we have Karen and Gillian in marketing who are willing to fight for us through the go-to-market strategy meetings. We have Elon in legal who helps us check those boxes like a terms of service. We have Jake in sales who helps us understand how we can relate to our current customers and actually makes introductions for us. So it's important to start creating those relationships internally to actually be able to scale new products inside your company. You can't do it alone. So we fast forward to see where Waffle is today. You can actually see that we've integrated our products, but we've kept our brands independent. So Waffle, with its flavorful, tasty, whatever brand, still identifies with Amy, but Rally's corporate brand still identifies with Jim, and we just tied those things together. If you look at our About page, we're even proud to say that we work for Rally Software. See, a mission statement doesn't just enable you to introduce new products. It actually enables teams to be more effective. So there's a secret about intrapreneurs versus entrepreneurs, and it's that we actually believe we can impact the world more by being inside a corporation. So when you have a team that's so excited about your company that they're willing to announce to the world that they belong to it when they're an internal startup team, you found something magical. So I hope these stories of Waffle and of Rudder have encouraged you to think through how you can expand your brand to introduce new products, but also unify them so it makes sense to your existing customers. Thank you.